The search is over for the man investigators believe is connected to a fatal shooting in...
A 12-year-old boy drops to his knees in a parking lot, his hand shaking, pressing down on his mother's chest, begging her to breathe. Blood stains his fingers. He's doing everything he's been taught, everything a child should never have to know. But nothing is working, because the man who pulled the trigger was someone they once called family. Welcome to the True Crime Shadow, where we uncover the cases that stay with you long after the video ends. If you're drawn to real stories that reveal the warning signs, the hidden patterns, and the truths people miss, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Because some stories don't just need to be told, they need to be understood. And this one? It starts like a love story, but it ends in a way no family could ever be ready for. Before everything went wrong, before the police tape and the court charges, there was just her, a mother, a provider, the kind of woman people leaned on without even realizing how much she carried on her shoulders. Detrenell Downing, known to almost everyone simply as Mama, was 31 years old. But responsibility had shaped her long before that. She wasn't chasing a flashy life or drama. Her world was small in the best way. Her children, her job, her home, and the quiet goal of giving her kids a better future than she had. Every decision she made circled back to them. Always them. She had 4 children who depended on her completely, and she showed up for them every single day. Not just emotionally, but physically, financially, relentlessly. While most people struggled with one job, she worked 2. During the day, she handled order processing at Puma, staying on her feet, focused, dependable. Then she picked up shifts at Burger King, pushing through exhaustion most people would complain about. But people close to her said she rarely did, because in her mind, being tired was temporary. Making sure her kids had what they needed was non-negotiable. Neighbors described her as respectful kind, the type to greet you with warmth even if she'd just come off a long shift. She wasn't loud. She wasn't in people's business. But if someone needed help, a place to stay, or just someone to talk to, she was there. That's how she earned that nickname, Mama. It wasn't just because she had kids. It was because she mothered everyone. Her children were her pride, her reason to keep going when life hit hard. And life had hit hard before. Loss wasn't new to this family. At one point, her oldest son asked her a question no child should ever have to think about: whether their family was cursed because they kept losing people they loved. That's the kind of pain they had already known. And still, she kept trying to build something stable, something safe, something hopeful for them. She wasn't reckless. She wasn't living dangerously. She was doing what millions of single mothers do every day: surviving, sacrificing, and loving her children with everything she had. From the outside, she was just another hard-working mom trying to make ends meet. But someone else was watching her life and slowly deciding he couldn't stand not being the center of it anymore. And that's where the real story begins. It didn't start with fear. It started with comfort, with laughter, with the kind of attention that feels like relief after carrying everything alone. Around 2020, during the uncertainty of the pandemic, Detrenell met Lenton Jones. At first, he felt like a bright spot in a heavy time. Conversations flowed easily. He said the right things, showed up consistently. And for a woman juggling 2 jobs and 4 kids, having someone step in and say, "I've got you," can feel like a lifeline. From the outside, they looked solid. Social media posts painted a picture of happiness. On his birthday, she publicly celebrated him, writing about how much joy he brought into her life. She thanked him, praised him, let the world know she appreciated having him by her side. It looked like she had finally found someone who understood her load and wanted to help carry it. He didn't just date her. He stepped into her family space. He spent time with her children, went on outings with them, took part in everyday moments. Reports say he acted like a father figure, calling the kids his own. For Mother, Seeing your children bond with someone you care about builds trust fast. It makes the relationship feel deeper, more permanent, more real. There were gifts too. One year, he bought her a car for her birthday. A big gesture. The kind that signals commitment, stability, support. And for a woman working nonstop, that kind of help can feel like love in action. Each anniversary, she posted about their relationship, writing as if forever was already planned. To her, this wasn't casual. This was a future. For a while, everything looked calm, balanced, safe. The type of relationship people point to and say, she finally got a good one. Then something changed, not all at once, not in a dramatic explosion, but in small, unsettling ways that are easy to excuse at first. The social media posts slowed down. The public praise stopped. The man who once felt like peace started feeling like pressure. And people close to the situation later said the energy around the relationship just shifted. What once felt supportive began to feel heavy. Reports claimed arguments became more frequent. His temper, which may have once seemed minor or rare, started showing itself more clearly. Mood swings, irritation over small things, that quiet tension that makes you choose your words carefully just to keep the day from going left. From the outside, it's easy to ask, why didn't she just leave sooner? But relationships don't flip from good to dangerous overnight. They erode, bit by bit, and often, the same person who makes you feel loved also makes you question yourself when things go wrong. 1 minute, he's apologizing, promising change, pulling you back in. The next, you're walking on eggshells. Rumors began circulating. Whispers of cheating, disappearing without explanation. Explosive reactions that came out of nowhere. Nothing fully confirmed, but enough that people noticed the glow she once had wasn't the same. The man who used to make her smile now made her anxious. The comfort she thought she found slowly turned into emotional weight. And like many situations that turn toxic, it likely didn't look dangerous at first. It looked confusing, frustrating, draining. The kind of relationship you keep hoping will go back to how it used to be. But here's the thing about masks. They slip when control starts to fade. And once Detrenell started pulling away, once she stopped feeding the version of the relationship he wanted, that's when the situation stopped being just unhealthy and started becoming dangerous. By 2024, something inside Detrenell had settled. Not anger, not drama, just clarity. The kind that comes after you've tried, forgiven, hoped, and finally realized peace shouldn't feel this hard to keep. She didn't want arguments. She didn't want tension in her home. She wanted calm mornings, safe nights, and space to focus on her kids without emotional chaos hanging over her head. So she made the decision many people struggle to make. She chose herself. She chose her children. She chose to leave. But walking away from a relationship doesn't always mean the relationship walks away from you, especially when the other person sees love as ownership. When she ended things, reports suggest Lenton didn't accept it. Not really. There were apologies, promises to change, attempts to pull her back in. The classic cycle. But this time she didn't budge. And for someone who thrives on control, rejection doesn't just hurt. It feels like humiliation. That's when the behavior reportedly shifted again. No longer the charming partner trying to win her back, but a man watching from the edges. Neighbors later said they saw him near her apartment complex in the early hours of the morning, around 3 a.m., more than once. Not visiting, not knocking, just there, walking, lingering, watching. The kind of presence that makes the air feel wrong, even if you can't explain why. Stalking doesn't always come with loud threats. Sometimes it's silence. Showing up where you weren't invited. Letting someone know, without saying it directly, I'm still here. And according to family statements, this wasn't random. It had been going on for days, maybe longer. But she was focused on moving forward, working, caring for her kids, trying to rebuild stability. She didn't know how close the danger had already moved. She thought leaving was the hardest part. She thought setting boundaries would bring distance. She thought saying no meant it was over. But for him, this was just the beginning, until his decision put an end to everything. Friday morning, just after 5 a.m., the sky was still heavy with that early gray light, the kind of quiet hour where most of the world is still asleep. But Detrenell was already up, doing what she always did, moving, getting ready for work, thinking about schedules, responsibilities, the long day ahead, survival mode, routine, normal life. She stepped outside the Hillcrest apartment complex with two of her sons beside her, heading toward the parking lot. It was supposed to be another regular morning, but someone else had been awake too. Someone who had been waiting. Lenton Jones was there, in that parking lot, after days of reportedly circling the area in the dark, after what family later described as planning. This was the moment he chose. Not a conversation, not closure, a confrontation, right in front of the children he once claimed to love. Words were exchanged, though exactly what was said hasn't been fully released. What is known is that it escalated fast, and then, in a moment that would scar those boys forever, he pulled out a gun. He fired, multiple times. Their mother, the woman who worked 2 jobs, who packed lunches, who showed up no matter how tired she was, collapsed onto the pavement. The sound shattered the morning stillness. And just like that, their world split in two. Life before this moment and life after. Len didn't stay. Reports say he ran from the scene, leaving chaos, screams, and 2 children standing over their mother's body. But 12-year-old King didn't run. He dropped to his knees, pressed his hands against her chest, began CPR, over and over, begging her to breathe, to open her eyes, to come back. A child tried to fix something no child should ever have to face. His younger brother stood nearby, frozen in horror. Neighbors later said it was heartbreaking to watch those boys trying to save their mama, refusing to give up even when the outcome was already certain. But love doesn't follow logic, and hope doesn't disappear just because reality does. Sirens came, police arrived, but the moment that mattered most had already passed, and nothing about that parking lot would ever feel ordinary again. Sirens filled the air, flashing lights bounced off apartment windows, and yellow tape began stretching across the parking lot. What had been an ordinary morning space, where kids played and neighbors walked to their cars, was now a crime scene. People stepped outside in pajamas, confused, whispering, trying to understand what had just happened only feet from their doors. Detrenell lay on the ground where she fell, and according to neighbors, her body remained there for hours while investigators worked the scene. Some said she wasn't immediately covered, that clothing had been placed over her in a way that didn't feel right to them. The image stuck, not just the violence, but the stillness afterward, the way everything froze around her. For the people who lived there, it didn't feel like a distant news story. It felt personal, too close, too real. And her children were still there in the aftermath, surrounded by police cars, strangers, and the unbearable truth settling in. King, the boy who had tried to save her, had to stand in that same space where he'd begged her to stay alive. The shock hadn't even had time to turn into grief yet. It was just disbelief, noise, fear. Neighbors who knew her described her as kind, respectful, the type who kept to herself but always spoke when she saw you. People who had just waved to her days earlier were now watching investigators mark evidence around the place she lost her life. That kind of shift shakes a community. It forces everyone to confront how close danger can be, how someone can be living a quiet, hard-working life and still become the center of tragedy. The parents in the complex held their kids tighter that morning. Conversations turned from casual greetings to safety. Questions echoed. How did it get this far? Did anyone see signs? Could something have been done? But while the community processed shock, one person was missing. The man responsible was gone. And as the sun rose higher, fear didn't fade. It spread. Because now it wasn't just about what had happened. It was about where he was and whether he might come back. Hours passed, then a full day, then another. And the man accused of pulling the trigger was still out there. The parking lot had gone quiet again, but the fear hadn't. It followed the family home. It sat in the rooms with them. It kept lights on at night. Because while the community mourned, there was still one terrifying unknown. Where was he? Police issued alerts, naming Lenton Jones as wanted in connection with the shooting. His face circulated. Warnings went out telling the public not to approach him. But for Detrenell's children, especially King, this wasn't just a news update. This was personal. The man who had stood in front of them that morning, the man they once knew, was now somewhere out in the world, free. Family members later shared that King was too afraid to sleep. Every sound felt like a threat. Every shadow felt real. Trauma doesn't wait politely. It settles in fast. For 3 days, that fear stretched on. Grief mixed with anxiety. Loss mixed with the terrifying possibility that the story wasn't finished yet. Then on Monday morning, March 10th, the waiting ended. Lenton Jones turned himself in at the Dublin Police Department. No dramatic chase. No public standoff. He walked in, just like that. He was taken into custody and booked into the county detention center. Authorities announced multiple charges, including intentional murder and cruelty to children, reflecting the horror of what those boys were forced to witness. This wasn't being treated as an accident, not a sudden outburst, but an act investigators believed was deliberate. When King heard the news, he reportedly told his aunt they got him. Then he said something that says more than any court document ever could. I can sleep now. A 12-year-old measuring safety not by comfort, but by whether the person who hurt his family was locked behind a door. But even with an arrest, nothing truly went back to normal, because justice can move forward while healing takes a lifetime. And for those children, the hardest part was only just beginning. The trauma didn't end when the gun was put down or when Lenton Jones was behind bars. For King and his siblings, the images of that morning would replay over and over. Their mother's bloody chest, the sound of gunshots, the helplessness that comes with being a child forced to witness a life cut short. Psychologists note that children who experience such violence often carry scars invisible to the eye. Nightmares, anxiety, survivor's guilt, difficulty trusting others, and a constant, gnawing sense that the world isn't safe. For these boys, the ordinary moments of childhood would never feel quite the same again. And the consequences of domestic violence ripple far beyond the immediate family. Friends, neighbors, and coworkers were left in shock, grappling with grief and disbelief. Community members spoke of Detrenell as a woman who gave everything for others, whose kindness and energy made her unforgettable. Her loss was felt in every corner of Dublin, a stark reminder that domestic violence doesn't happen in isolation. It affects everyone who crosses paths with its victims. Experts say there were warning signs: stalking at 3 a.m., inability to accept rejection, a documented history of violent behavior, obsessive planning, all red flags that were ignored or unnoticed. And while hindsight is always 20/20, it's crucial to recognize these signals early. Reporting suspicious behavior, supporting victims in leaving abusive relationships, and advocating for stronger protections can sometimes prevent the unthinkable. Detrenell's story is tragically common. Domestic violence remains an epidemic, often hidden in plain sight, and the period right after a breakup is statistically one of the most dangerous times for victims. Awareness, vigilance, and action are key. For every family watching, it's a call to notice the subtle signs, to speak up, and to provide support before tragedy unfolds. Her children will carry their trauma, but so will the memory of her strength, her sacrifice, and her love. Detrenell Downing's life reminds us that even in the darkest circumstances, The courage to protect oneself and one's family matters. And while justice can hold perpetrators accountable, it is awareness and education that can save lives before it comes to that. This is more than a story of loss. It's a warning, a lesson, and a call to action. If you recognize danger signs, don't hesitate. If you see someone struggling in an abusive relationship, speak up. Every intervention, every act of support can make the difference between life and tragedy. Thank you for joining us in remembering Detrenell, honoring her story, and reflecting on the lessons her life and tragic death leave behind. If this story moved you, please take a moment to like this video, share it, and subscribe to the True Crime Shadow so we can continue telling stories that matter. Leave a comment below. Your thoughts, reflections, or even personal experiences may help someone in need find courage and hope. Rest in peace. Detrenell Downing, your story lives on, and your legacy is a reminder to stay vigilant, stay aware, and never ignore the signs.